Walmart. It's a name that has become synonymous with low prices and convenience, a retail giant that has changed the way the world shops. But while the company's commercials trumpet slogans like "Save money, live better," there's a darker side to the empire, one that's been simmering beneath the surface for years. The real story behind Walmart's 2025 labor exploitation is one that most people don't see, but is one that has serious consequences for millions of workers and ultimately the world economy. At its core, Walmart has built its business on the premise of offering low-cost goods to consumers. It's a strategy that's worked remarkably well, in fact. The company operates in over 20 countries with more than 1,000 stores and a workforce numbering over 2 million people. Walmart's dominance in the retail space has given it unprecedented power in the global supply chain, allowing it to dictate terms with manufacturers, distributors, and, of course, workers. But here's where things get interesting. The very thing that makes Walmart so successful, its ability to keep prices low, is also what has led to a growing crisis in labor relations. To achieve these low prices, Walmart has relied on aggressive cost-cutting measures, and more often than not, these cuts come at the expense of the workers who make Walmart's success possible. For years, the company has faced criticism for its treatment of employees. In fact, Walmart has become the poster child for labor exploitation in the retail sector. Workers complain about low wages, poor working conditions, and the lack of benefits, even as the company rakes in billions of dollars in profits. But in recent years, things have taken a darker turn. As we approach 2025, the labor issues at Walmart have only worsened, and the exploitation has become more pronounced. So, what exactly is happening at Walmart, and why should we care? To understand the real story behind Walmart's 2025 labor exploitation, we need to look at the company's evolution over the past few decades. The retail giant started out with a simple goal: to provide low-wage goods to rural America. Founder Sam Walton believed that by keeping costs down, he could pass the savings on to customers. The strategy was a game changer, and it quickly propelled Walmart into the national spotlight. The company's growth was explosive. Walmart was the largest retailer in the world. But as the company expanded, so too did the pressure to maintain its razor-thin profit margins. Walmart became known for its always low prices strategy, and to keep prices low, the company squeezed its suppliers and cut labor costs. This meant that employees often worked long hours for little pay, and benefits were minimal, if offered at all. In the early 2000s, Walmart began facing growing pressure from unions and labor advocates who accused the company of exploiting its workers. The company's response was to double down on its anti-union stance. Walmart famously employed a strategy of discouraging unionization efforts by offering employees bonuses and other incentives to remain non-unionized. The company also invested heavily in surveillance and management systems designed to monitor employee behavior and prevent union activity. This approach worked. Walmart has remained largely union-free, and its workforce continues to be largely unorganized. But while Walmart may have avoided unionization, it couldn't escape the mounting criticism of its labor practices. Workers across the country staged protests, walked off the job, and filed lawsuits alleging wage theft, discrimination, and unsafe working conditions. Yet, despite the backlash, Walmart remained steadfast in its commitment to keeping costs low and profits high. Fast forward to 2025, and the situation at Walmart has only worsened. The company has continued to squeeze its workforce, particularly in its low-wage retail and warehouse sectors. Workers in these sectors face grueling conditions, with many reporting having to work long hours with few breaks, often for wages that don't cover basic living expenses. In some cases, employees have been forced to take on multiple jobs just to make ends meet. But it's not just the wages that are the problem. Working conditions in Walmart's warehouses have become a particular point of concern. As the company has moved toward automation and increased reliance on robotics, many warehouse workers are finding themselves stuck in dangerous, high-pressure environments where the demand for speed and efficiency has led to a culture of burnout. Workers report frequent injuries, from repetitive strain to serious accidents involving heavy machinery. And despite these dangers, Walmart has been accused of skimping on safety measures and cutting corners to save money. At the same time, Walmart has been ramping up its use of gig workers, a trend that has raised eyebrows. In an attempt to reduce labor costs and increase flexibility, Walmart has begun hiring more contract workers and offering temporary positions through staffing agencies. This allows the company to avoid paying benefits like healthcare or paid leave while still meeting its staffing needs. The rise of gig work at Walmart has created an even more precarious working environment, with workers lacking job security or access to basic labor protections. But perhaps the most alarming development in the story of Walmart's labor exploitation is its reliance on global supply chains. While the company has long been criticized for sourcing cheap goods from overseas manufacturers, the situation in 2025 is even more troubling. Walmart has doubled down on outsourcing production to countries with lax labor laws, where workers are often subjected to unsafe conditions and exploitative wages. In countries like Bangladesh, Vietnam, and China, Walmart suppliers have been accused of using child labor, forcing workers to work in hazardous conditions and paying wages that are below the poverty line. In some cases, Walmart has been linked to factory fires, where workers have died due to the company's failure to enforce safety standards. Despite these reports, Walmart continues to source products from these countries, largely because it can keep costs down and maintain its low price promises to consumers. So, what can be done about all of this? There's no easy answer. Walmart's sheer size and power make it difficult for individual workers to fight back. Unions have been largely unsuccessful in organizing Walmart's workforce, and the company's aggressive legal tactics and surveillance systems make it challenging for workers to speak out without fear of retaliation. But the situation is not hopeless. One of the first steps in addressing Walmart's labor exploitation is raising awareness. Consumers need to understand the true cost of the low prices they enjoy. When people shop at Walmart, they're not just getting a bargain, they're contributing to a system that exploits workers around the world. If consumers begin to demand more ethical business practices from companies like Walmart, it could put pressure on the company to change its ways. Another important step is holding Walmart accountable through legislation. Governments need to enact stronger labor laws that protect workers, particularly in the retail and warehouse sectors. These laws should ensure that workers are paid a living wage, have access to healthcare and paid leave, and work in safe conditions. Additionally, lawmakers need to crack down on exploitative global supply chains and hold companies like Walmart accountable for the conditions in factories overseas. Finally, it's up to workers to organize and fight for their rights. While Walmart has been successful in keeping unions out of its stores, workers are beginning to realize that they need to come together if they want to make meaningful change. Workers in the retail, warehouse, and gig economy sectors must find ways to organize, whether through traditional unions or new forms of worker solidarity. Only by standing together can they hope to push back against the exploitative practices that have defined Walmart's labor model for decades. In the end, the real story behind Walmart's 2025 labor exploitation is the story of power. The power that a corporation can wield over its workers, and the power that consumers, workers, and lawmakers have to change the system. While Walmart may continue to dominate the retail landscape, it's clear that the company's success has come at a cost, and it's time for that cost to be recognized. If we want to create a fairer, more just society, we must demand that Walmart and other companies stop exploiting their workers and start paying them what they're worth. Only then can we hope to see real change in the world of retail labor.